We have called every military base in the western region. We have called NORAD. We have called NORTHCOM.
We called the Coast Guard, the Navy, the Air Force, the Pentagon, local members of Congress. No one knew anything.
We're just getting no answers from the government, from all these different departments of the government.
It looks like it could be a launch from a submarine.
A missile from a Navy ship.
Could it be a secret test?
Or Russian sub?
A commercial launch of a satellite.
Optical illusion.
A meteorite.
A show of American force.
Maybe even a U.S. intercontinental ballistic missile.
Hey everybody, a few days ago there was this incident off the coast of California. Apparently this missile-like something was launched or flew overhead, and nobody seems to know what it is. It happened on November 8th, 2010, on Monday, a few days ago. And if you haven't seen the news, this is what happened.
Well, now back to that mysterious missile launch. The bright light could easily be seen up in L.A., but tonight we're still trying to figure out what it was.
News 8's Marcella Lee did some digging and joins us with how tough it was to find an answer. Marcella?
Beverly and Carla, we put in a lot of calls to the Navy and Air Force tonight about this, an incredible missile launch off the coast of L.A. around 5 p.m. But so far, no one seems to know anything about this launch. So we showed the video to Ambassador Robert Ellsworth, a former Deputy Secretary of Defense, to get his thoughts.
And it's spectacular. It takes people's breath away.
Who launched this missile and why remain a mystery for now.
It is a big missile.
These magnificent images were captured from the KCBS News helicopter in Los Angeles around sunset. The location of the missile, west of L.A., north of Catalina Island, and approximately 35 miles out to sea.
So nobody knows what it is. The Pentagon doesn't know what it is. The Army, the Air Force, the FAA, the NORTHCOM, nobody knows what's going on here, which is really weird. And now, you know, the latest news, I guess, is that the Pentagon's saying it was just a plane. It was just a jetliner, and it was just, you know, traveling through the sky, and it's just an optical illusion. It wasn't really going up. It was just flying horizontally, and it happens all the time. Well, it's just really weird because it doesn't happen all the time. The trail the plane was leaving, or the missile, or whatever it was huge. It was a huge trail. I mean, you don't see these kind of trails on any jetliners. And if you look at it, it's just a little bit crooked somewhat, you know, along its path, which is, again, atypical of a jetliner. So I'm suspicious about it. I mean, it just doesn't look like a plane was flying overhead. And so are a lot of other people, I guess, because it's just big news on the internet right now. So, okay, maybe it is an optical illusion. Maybe it is a plane. Maybe the humidity was really, you know, whatever, or the sunset was whatever, and everything just, you know, fell into place and created this optical illusion of something like a missile taken off from the ground or from the sea. And but what if it's not? You know, what if it's not an optical illusion? What if it really did take off in a vertical ascension? And what if it really is something like a missile? So that's where things get a little bit worrying, because like a month and a half ago I made this video called Mystery Babylon, Destruction of the Great City, where I argue that the United States is Mystery Babylon from Apocalypse 17, and that she is awaiting destruction. And doing the research for this video, I would research, you know, dreams, visions, and prophecies, past and present, from a number of different people or different sources. And the common factor here was America being attacked under a nuclear attack, and that's what a lot of these prophecies, visions, and dreams all share. You know, some of the dreams, visions, and prophecies I looked into were those from Dumitru Duduman, A. Allen, Henry Groover, and you know, they share the common factor that they all saw missiles coming from the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, you know, just coming right out of the oceans and falling on America. So, you know, it's just a little bit worrying, because that's what I researched, that's what I, you know, based a lot of my video on, and now we have this incident a few days ago with what appears to be a missile coming out of the ocean, out of the Pacific Ocean. There's this interview with Henry Groover where he's talking about the visions and prophecies of a man named A.C. Valdez, who supposedly received visions and prophecies from God, and he received a vision prophecy from God in 1929 before missiles existed. And this was supposedly what A.C. Valdez saw in that vision.
Henry, you told me about a vision that A.C. Valdez had in 1929. Tell me about that.
That was an awesome vision. In the vision, he saw the streets and this city that he said, to the best that he could ascertain, looked like kind of like Berkeley, California. Okay? Mm-hmm. And in this city, he said, the buildings glistened like glass. The highways were like ribbons interweaving among themselves. The cars were egg-shaped. They looked like eggs. And he said, all of a sudden, in this big city, went off an air raid sirens. People ran out of their houses, jumped into their cars, and headed onto the freeways, jamming the freeways. They were running out of their cars, looking back at the coast. It was like they feared what was going to come out of the waters. They kept looking back, trampling one another, trying to get out of the city. When all of a sudden, up out of the waters came this shot of this cylindrical object, and steam and all, and it leveled off, heading right over the city, coming at a very low altitude. He saw on the side of it, there was fire coming out of its tail, and he said saw letters on the side of it. Now, this was in 1929, it said ICBM. And all of a sudden, it went off. This thing exploded. He saw a massive mushroom cloud that exploded in the atmosphere, and he said the city disappeared before his eyes. He said all of a sudden the angel that was with him said, we've got to go down into the city. They went down into this massive area of a crater of devastation. He said as we were walking up out of the crater, the ground below his feet was like sand dunes. He said he kept looking at it because it was sparkling and yet it was black. And he ran his finger through it and he saw that it was pulverized steel and concrete and glass. As they were going farther out of the city, then there began to be like windrows of bodies and people and debris mixed together. Farther on out, people were standing, walking around crying, and their eyes were literally melted out of their sockets.
So you have these kind of visions, dreams, and prophecies, and then you have this incident a few days ago with this missile apparently coming out of the ocean 30-something miles from California. And if it is a plane, I mean, why would something so simple as a plane be so impossibly difficult to confirm it? You know, the Pentagon or Northcom or any other, you know, defense that the United States have. It shouldn't be that difficult to confirm that it was a commercial airliner. But again, I've never seen a plane leave a trail like that. And I don't take anything lightly anymore. There's major things that are going to happen in the very, very near future. So all this is just very worrying. You know, we can't be distracted anymore. We have to know what's going on. And I guarantee you the number one source that will, you know, never lie to you and that will give you a complete, accurate picture of what's going on is God and the Bible. So, you know, I would insist that you get with God. Ask him what's going on. And ask him, you know, what you should do. So, God bless. Thank you for watching.
All right, it has been days since a mysterious missile-like vapor trail was recorded off California's coast, and the federal government still can't provide a concrete answer.
Look, this is not an airplane because of the plume and the way you see that plume. Airplanes do not con at sea level or 5,000 feet like that. I spent 35 years flying fighters, and I never saw an airplane con like that. That is a missile. It's launched from a submarine, and you can see it go through a correction course, and then it gets a very smooth trajectory, meaning that the guidance system is now kicked in. It's going at about 45 degrees away from you. That's why you're not seeing a lot of vertical velocity.
General, are you 100% certain?
Sean, I've watched that film 10 times. I've watched 15 other Trident films, SM-3s, Standard Missile 3s, and TLAM launches. I am absolutely certain that that is not an aircraft.
Sarah, we're told this is an optical illusion, that you really got to see it in its context, that everyone seemed to buy into the conventional wisdom. Now I listen to General McInerney, who has a tremendous amount of background and experience. He says something very different. Your reaction?
Well, you know, I haven't just heard it from the general. I've been hearing this from other sources as well, and I'm also hearing the other side. I'm not an expert here on aircraft and trajectories. I think the general is much more an expert than I. He's an aviator, and he understands aircraft, and he understands missile systems.
It could possibly be an airplane. It could be a toy rocket launched as a test. I mean, if we're going to throw out a
toy rocket? That looks like a toy rocket to you?
Well, we don't have anything to look at the scale. And if you do, if you look at a terror cell,
it looks like a toy rocket to me.
Well, some of those toys are pretty sophisticated, Sean. But if you were a terror cell, you wanted to test America's defenses.
I don't know what your parents gave you for Christmas, but that is no toy rocket. I mean, it's either an airplane or it's a missile, in my mind. When I hear General McInerney here with his background, his expertise, him being a pilot, and his definitive answer that this is a missile, I'm kind of nervous that maybe my government's covering something up here.
I can't imagine that this is a foreign submarine launching a missile off the coast of the United States.
Our submarines are often considered one of the most powerful parts of any military force, and China's own fleet is the foundation for the country's very own underwater Great Wall. Qian Xiaoying tells us more.
A submarine is a sort of high-tech underwater castle. The achievements come after over half a century of development.
The information technology for our first class of submarines was at quite a low level, but now our submarines are armed with guided missiles. They are capable of performing strategic nuclear counterattacks, strike long-range vessels, and also attack enemy submarines.
Submarines always go far down in the sea, so everyone on board is isolated from the world. The Chinese Navy's submarine fleet has continued to develop in recent years. The Army has worked out new strategies, including attacking from a long distance, laying mines, submarine-to-submarine attacks, and attacking vessels at sea continuously. The submarine fleet has also successfully accomplished several scientific trials and joint military drills with the Marine Corps and Air Force. The successful launch of the ballistic missile by nuclear submarine means China is capable of undertaking a nuclear counterattack at sea. It also symbolized the Chinese Navy's achievement over the past 50 years. Qian Xiaoying, CCTV.